I've bounced around a little bit. Okay. A lot of my friends have bounced around a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think it's a more common theme where you go to school, you go through the whole process, getting a degree,
Right.
but then you have a change of heart. You know?
Yeah.
You're in something that either isn't you
Yeah.
or it was you
Yeah.
or it was a parent's dream,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Like in your case. But now you're in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you stay in it like you've made it this far?
Right.
Or do you take a risk and try something else and go for that? Or do you like, I've had this debt or I have pressure, I'm getting older.
Yep.
Like is it always worth it to go for that regardless?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's, it's a tough question to answer for every person, but
Of
like,
course.
in my opinion, yes. Right? Like, dude, again, I just think about, like, you don't know when your last day is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you've got debt, I get it. I would never blame somebody who has debt who didn't take that, because you also got to be responsible, right? Like, risk is calculated. If you, like, you know what I mean? Like, our ancestors there's a reason why we're afraid of risk, because our ancestors, there were real harsh consequences to risk, right? So, like,
They were life or death.
there was life or death. The people who are like me, there was a slim chance of survival for people like me in some ways back in the day, right? Like, you leave your tribe and you go out to start your tribe, you get eaten by a wolf. Like, you know what I mean?
On the way there.
On the way there. Like, you're like, there's a real chance
Yeah.
you're not going to make it. So, like,
Yeah.
our bodies are built to understand that. Like, you know what I mean? Our mind is, like, afraid of that. So, you got to take calculated risk. So, if you, again, I think about, if you can measure out the outcomes, like what's the worst case scenario, and you're okay with the worst case scenario, or you have some sort of padding for the worst case scenario, in my head, then you should take that risk. You know what I mean? But each person has a different threshold for risk. You
That's
see those
right.
guys who are like, wingsuit jumping? Have
Yeah.
you seen those videos where they're
Yep.
just going through this canyons? Bro, that they could die. Like, it's one of the riskiest sports in the world. All it
Yeah.
takes is one.
And they know that.
They know that, and they're fine with it. I'm not like that. I take a risk in a different threshold, or in a
Okay.
different way. You got to figure out what your risk threshold is. You got to figure out, what are you okay with? What's the worst case scenario I'm okay with? If that's dying, are you, like, legit? You got to think about, are you okay with it? You know what I mean? Like, if you're a wingsuit, like, you have to know every time you get out of that plane, you might die this time. So you have to be okay with it.
Yeah.
That's the same thing for anybody who's starting something, who comes out of college. What am I okay with? Am I okay with being, if I don't pay off this debt in the next 5 years, am I okay with this being whatever, $300,000 in debt because of interest, right? Am I okay with that? If I'm okay with it, and I've thought about it, and I'm emotionally, then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to work around that. And each person has a different way to think through that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can't answer for you on what your threshold is. But once you do that, then you feel it's intentional. You're thinking through it. Like, if you thought through that, that means you're thinking. You're like, dude, I'm really committing to this. And I think that's super important. If you're going to commit to something, you got to give it 100%. 100%.
Always.
Because there's too many people out there trying to do the exact same thing you are. The only difference is they are willing to die on the treadmill for it. It's like that Will Smith thing.
That Will Smith thing, yeah.
You gotta be willing to die on the treadmill for it.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, hey man, follow your dreams as long as you know what the cost and you're ready to accept that cost.
It's like, what's worse? The feeling of wishing you had done it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Every year, you're old, and you're like, I wish I had done that. Or the feeling of, I did that and it didn't work out.
Right.
That's person to person, right?
It's person to person.
What feeling is worse?
Yeah. 100%. 100%, bro. It's so subjective. That's why
is.
it's like, in the beginning days, I would be like, man, all of these other people who are not starting their own companies are suckers working for these big, because you just see them
Losers.
going,
Yeah.
like they're going to work and you're like, what a bunch of losers. But
Yeah.
that's wrong, because it's like, every person has their own journey. Like, if you're happy with it, bro, good for you.
Good for you.
If you enjoy going to hibachis, hanging out with your friends on the weekends, going on a boat ride, like, you know what I mean? Like, if that's the life you want, asalu, God bless, right?
Do it.
Do it. But if you want what I want, you have to enjoy the burn. You have to enjoy the rejection and just have to be okay with it. Like
Yeah.
you'll see some things, like you'll see some friends, right? This is so true. In college, y'all are like equal. Everyone's
Yeah.
just, it's like so egalitarian. Like everyone's on the same, like they might have come from rich families, some people, whatever, but you're kind of all there equal. Then life starts happening, 20s start happening, right? You start making choices. This person ends up working at, let's say, like Morgan Stanley, and they're like rising the ranks. They're just paying their dues, working their ass off, and then they're going higher. Now they're getting more money. By the time they hit like their late 20s,
Yeah.
early 30s, now you start seeing financial differences in your friends. Your friend's like, yo, man, I'm going to go to like Cabo this weekend. You want to come with? And you're just like, bro, I'm still grinding.
Yeah.
I'm like 29. I'm still like,
Yeah, I'm still eating ramen.
I'm still eating ramen.
Yeah.
That's the cost you have to be willing to accept. If
You have to be okay with that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Right now, my brother is doing an across the country road trip by
Okay.
himself, and
Okay.
he loves it. And for everyone who's on Instagram and stuff like that, that's like all this travelers, you know, like this
Yeah.
travel porn where
Yeah.
people just love being like, I love traveling.
Yeah.
A lot of people legit love traveling, and I think some people are just posing for that. But
course.
I don't connect with that. For
Okay.
me, that travel stuff, I would say, is my internal journey. Like when I see my startup making a little bit, or my business,
get that high
I
from
get that
that.
same high. I'm okay with the other rough parts, because even
Okay.
the travel stuff, like the stuff you're seeing, it's not that. I mean, there's some parts that are baller, but then there's some parts that are, I'm like far away from home, like lonely. I just want a McDonald's burger. Like, what the hell? This is
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So there's
know, yeah.
costs. Every lifestyle, even the most wealthiest person, there's a cost to that lifestyle. Like you can have the perfect house, white picket fence, you know, family, dogs, all of that. But there's a cost to that. You're like, you're bored.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Things are more like, there's nothing to look forward to, right? So, or maybe you then start buying more things or kind of fill that hole in your, you know what I mean? Every lifestyle has a cost. You have to be willing to accept that cost and make peace with that cost. Once you do that, then you're enjoying life, whatever that life is. Right?
Whatever you've decided, right?
Yeah. So then by the time you show up for your 10-year high school reunion,
Yeah.
you're not like ashamed of who you are. And you're not like, man, I can't handle these fools. They're all just talking about their money and like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
That's
Like,
what they go back for, right? You compare yourself.
you compare yourself and you're like, did I do better than this person? Did I not do better? Like and should I feel bad about this? You know what I mean? Like it's all this weird, but it's like, that's not them. That's you, bro. You need
Yeah.
to be at peace with the life choices you make and just be like, yeah, man, I'm grateful. I'm still here. I'm doing what I
grinding.
love. I'm grinding. I'm enjoying it.
And the grind shouldn't ever stop.
Yeah, I don't think so. Not for me. There's some people who will, you know, hang up the mitts, and who knows, right? Like, God forbid, bro. Like, I just think about this too. Like, let's say I have parents who need help or they're sick or something. You know, like
I want
life.
to be able to be there for them,
Yeah, like you can't completely like.
right?
There's responsibilities too.
Yeah.
So I'm appreciative. Like I was telling my girlfriend this the other day. I'm appreciative that I get to work on my business for however long I get to work on my business. Like whether that's 2 hours a day, 2 hours a week, or the entire day. You gotta focus on that. Like if you take
Yeah.
that perspective,
Yeah.
you're more flexible with whatever life throws at you. Because you're not always going to be able to do everything you want the entire. You know what I mean? Like you would have to be back to the whole success thing. You would have enough time and money so that you could work on whatever you want. Not everyone gets that. Most people don't get that. So you have to learn to compensate and be like, okay, I'm still grateful, man. I get an hour
Yeah.
to work on my DJing. Like I get an
Yeah.
hour to work on my MCing. Like
It's
you know what I
something.
mean?